Dr. Paul Kengor is joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe, and we are way in the breach. The Worst of Indignities, the Catholic Church on Slavery, is his new book out of from Emmaus Road Press. Paul, let me ask you this, okay? Again, let's talk about let's get to the Catholic Church for a second. Now, I'm saying this respectfully. Bishop Barron, I have a lot of respect for Bishop Barron. I've learned a lot from him over the years. He made a comment in one of his interviews where he said the Catholic Church was late to the game on slavery. And I remember being upset, very upset with that statement, because I frankly expect a lot more from Bishop Barron because he's a smart guy. He's a knowledgeable guy. So I want to just cover this. I know we could have 10 conversations on this question. So I want to just try to keep it brief. My reading is that as early as about 1430, there was no Africans in America at that point, okay? There was no real European slavery. In 1430, Pope Eugene IV issued a bull condemning slavery because there was, I guess it was either Portuguese or Spanish, were going into the Canary Islands, and they were going to, and they were enslaving the people of the Canary Islands. And the Pope made it clear under no uncertain terms, you will restore the liberty of these people immediately under pain of excommunication, all right? And every, I believe, century or so, roughly, after that, right up until after the American Civil War, right up until after America abolished slavery, okay, the church had stayed completely consistent on the issue of slavery, that it was a mortal sin and it was not allowed. Where am I wrong, Paul Kengor? Because that tells me the church was absolutely not late to the game on slavery.
Yeah, not at all. In fact, the church was before everybody else. And I have great respect, like you, for Bishop Barron. And in fact, I've talked to him. I've interviewed him before, and he's terrific. But that's incorrect. And you're right, Joe. So the first one, December 1434, from Eugene IV. The next one, January 1435. And speaking of Columbus, if I'm doing my math right, we're looking at 57, 58 years before Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? That was and this is 200 years almost before the 1619 project and all those other things. And the encyclical from January 1435 is January 13th, 1435. It was called Sicut Dudum, okay? And the exact title, the official title of the encyclical was, are you listening, people? Quote, against the enslaving of Black natives from the Canary Islands, unquote. So it even identifies the color of the skin of these people. And I've heard people say, well, maybe if the church wasn't so late on condemning slavery, it was at least late condemning the transatlantic slave trade, Black slaves. Well, no, the transatlantic slave trade technically begins about the year 1444. So this is a full decade before that. You could make the argument, Joe and Joe, that the church was late condemning the slavery of whites. But one might say, hey, where was the church when all the slavery was happening to the Jews and Paul and Joe's ancestors in Italy in the 1300s, right? You could make an argument about that. But 1435, this statement against the enslaving of Black natives in the Canary Islands in 1435, 10 years, 9 years exact, decade before the Atlantic slave trade. No, the church was there. The church was way out ahead on this and way before, while we're still doing math, okay, 1435, that is 4 centuries before the Brits abolished slavery through Wilberforce.
Right.
Right? And the Brits abolished it 30 years before Lincoln did, the Emancipation Proclamation. So our church is way ahead on this. And that's just formal papal bulls, exhortations that you can go back to. I point out in the book, the Council of Ogda in the year 506. You can go back to St. Patrick. St. Patrick had been a slave. Last I checked, St. Patrick, well, I didn't check, but I assume that St. Patrick might have been a redheaded Irishman, right? I mean, he wasn't from Northern Africa like, say Augustine was. The churches had popes and saints who were slaves. So the church is way ahead on this. No one else is even close to the Catholic Church on this issue.